their children would. The strong arm is not weakened by being uncovered, and the back is not broken by bending it in respect. Better is a poor person who speaks pleasant words than a rich person whose words are as harsh and dry as straw. A pilot who sees far ahead will not wreck the ships on the rocks. And the next passage, do not expose a widow if you catch her in the field, nor fail to be understanding of her reply. Do not refuse your oil jar to a stranger to double it for your friends and family. God loves those who respect the poor more than those who revere the rich. May the ancestors be pleased with those readings. And in the binders or somewhere on a card near you on a placard appears the litany of sacrifice. And if we could have everyone please stand and prepare for the litany. Ujuma. Candles of the Nguzo Saba are burning brightly. Kneeling pads have been laid at the front for those who Oh, Holy One, again we come ever grateful and ever thankful for our lives, thankful for this place called Wose, a place where we can come and worship as we please, that we can play drums and offer praises to our ancestors, unafraid and uninterfered with. Oh, Holy One, we pray that you continue to allow us to continue this work. Bless each and every one that took time out to come out this morning, that took funds from their wallet or from their purse to share with this community. We ask the Holy One that you allow us to use these funds in the most expeditious way that we know. Help us, O Holy One, to continue to sustain ourselves. Help us to expand and develop our program too. Help us to carry this message out and further in a more forceful kind of way. We ask that you send blessings to each and every one that gave, for those that perhaps did not give or did not give as much as he or she had wished. We ask the same blessings, O Holy One. Bless our families. Bless our community in the Sacramento. Be with them, O Holy One, as they continue this work. We ask that you bless the one that will come with a message that will lift our hearts and open our minds and encourage us, perhaps just for another day. Holy One, we come not asking these things in vain, but asking these things and believing these things in the great history of the work with our people. And as our knowledge and understanding of that great work continues to unfold, O Holy One, we ask that you allow us to internalize that new reality, that we ourselves may be lifted up. O Holy One, we ask that you bless our minister Greg and his family as they may be traveling at this time. Put your arms of protection around them. Grant blessings and return them safely to our community here. Be with us throughout the remainder of the service. Ashe and Amen Ra.
Good morning, Wosay. I'm in Rahotep. I am so pleasantly surprised to have Minister Makalisi here. I have the utmost respect for you as our minister and for as a founding member of this community. I appreciate you, and I hope that I live up to the great expectations that you've set for this community. My topic today is the audacity of smallness. And in thinking about and preparing this message, it never ceases to amaze me how often we forget that we are connected with the Most High. And sometimes some of my greatest challenges in remembering that and the vastness of the universe come when I'm at work. I have to remind myself, just for a moment, I might slip away, but it gives me an opportunity to practice staying centered and grounded. I heard the wife of this Ghanaian mystic speak once, years ago, about being born into greatness. She talked about the process of procreation, and she pointed out that there are 200 million to 500 million seeds released by a man during the process of procreation, right? Women are born with about 2 million eggs, but typically, just one is released from her ovaries every cycle. So from those great numbers, the seed and the egg join together to bring forth life. Many are called into existence, but the chosen are few. In the Hosea from the book of Knowing the Creations, which is on this passage that I'm referring to is on page 5, it says, I created forms of every kind. Many were the forms which issued forth from the commands of my mouth. So we know that the process of reproduction and birth and the bringing forth of life is a divine process. From the very beginning of our existence as beings, we're brought forth by the divinely guided selection process and manage to live through gestation and birth. So not only are our spirits already alive when they come to this physical body, but the creation of the physical body is a divine process as well. And it's important for us to note that. At birth, we've already been specially selected. We did it. We arrived. We lived. Congratulations, everybody. Right? You're born a winner already. Now, when you think about babies, they're these amazing and resilient, self-aware little beings, and they have sense enough to be amazed by almost everything, right? You see them looking at their hands, and they're just like, wow, this is so cool, whatever this is, right? Babies are also quite satisfied with themselves. You never hear a baby talking about how fat their legs are. Right? Complaining about being bald. And they are not concerned or worried about living up to the monumental task of learning to walk and talk. They're just doing it. Babies don't get caught up in the minutia of egocentric self-definition. They're very clear that their needs are going to be met, or else we're all going to hear about it. Babies have the audacity to love themselves unconditionally and to know just how important they truly are. How many of us know that we need that kind of nerve back? Right? And not only are we born winners, each of us is born with a special set of unique gifts and talents. We have a responsibility to ourselves, our community, and most importantly, to the Most High, who is the one who bestowed those unique gifts and talents on us, right? To share our piece of the puzzle. We also have to think about what happens when we don't share our unique gifts and talents. How do we even figure out what our unique gift is? The way that we find that out is we listen. Now, I guarantee you 100%, completely and totally, without a doubt, that if you ask the Most High what your unique gift is, it will answer. And you will hear it. If you ask, it will answer and you will hear it. Whether or not you listen is up to you. Because there's a difference between hearing and listening. In the Book of Prayers and Sacred Praises, it's passage number 3 on page 18 of the Hosea. Neb-Ra says, Amen-Ra is he who knows compassion, who hearkens to those who call to him. Once we're made aware of our purpose, we have to stay focused on bringing into being, right? So when you call on God, the Hosea is telling us, when you call on the Most High, it answers. So that's our further assurance. You know it in your heart. The scriptures that we learn, the passages that we learn, the things that we study, it's interesting because they resonate with us, not because it's something new, but because it's a truth that lives in us that we're aware of. Right? That we're aware of. It's that same energy that caused us to question many of the things that we have been taught in the first place. So how often do we talk ourselves out of our divine destiny because we don't believe that we can accomplish whatever it is we've been told that we need to do, right? We talk ourselves out of our destiny because of some perceived sense of inadequacy. How often do we try and then fail and maybe hit some roadblock and then just give up on whatever it is? Either individually or collectively. In the Hosea on page number 17, Neb-Ra says, though the servant be inclined to make mistakes, the Lord is inclined to be merciful. Who in here has never made a mistake? See, that's what I was going to say. And anybody who raises their hand is lying. Right. Just made another mistake. Mistakes are made to be learned from, and truthfully, it's only failure if you give up. Okay? When you persevere, it's called practice. The only difference is how our mind perceives it and whether or not we still believe in the possibility of the thing. Staying conscious, not just politically conscious, but staying awake and aware is the key. To help us with it, and support us, we also need to have a clear vision. We need to speak our word into the universe, right? We use our God-given power, our heka, and we invoke spirit. And this will help us continue our work towards the goal. You know, you can't just have faith. You have to continue to work knowing that whatever it is you're setting your mind to or that you're working towards is going to come into fruition. So speaking of vision, I took my parents to Hometown Buffet yesterday. Sorry, I gotta move this. I took, yes, the senior discount, hallelujah. It was their birthday. Their birthday is a week apart, about 7 days apart exactly. So I asked them, where do you want to go? You guys can go to any restaurant you want. And they said, we want to go to Hometown Buffet, or Home Style Buffet as my mama calls it. So during our time hanging out together, my mother told me about a conversation that she had when she was a little girl with her mother. And she was talking about jail. She asked her mother if she'd ever been to jail. And my grandma said she had never been to jail and wasn't never going. That's what she said. And my mother told me she was just so confused. Like, what do you mean you've never been to jail? And I asked her, well, Mommy, why were you confused? And she said, well, you know, because she grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And she said, well, black people were being put in jail left and right for just about nothing. So they all believe that if you're black, automatically you're going to jail. Right? The most disheartening thing that stuck out for me in the stories, actually there was two things. First and foremost, that my poor mom thought this as a child. You know, she honestly thought that black people automatically went to jail. The other thing is that I realized that there are many of our children today who have the same belief, whether it's about going to jail, whether it's about dying at the hand of community violence or being killed by the police. How many of our children are walking around and holding that vision in their minds? And how is that affecting their reality? In addition to the other outside issues, how is their own vision affecting their reality? And my main question was, what can we do to bring about a mass scale change in that vision? It can be done. I heard someone once say that we are not outnumbered, we are just out-organized. And I thought that was a really brilliant quote. And I was sitting there in what I call the amen corner. Oh yeah, that's right. That sure does make sense. That's a good quote. But then there's a little Tracy inside that's just tapping me like, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me. It's that Tracy that inner Tracy that lovingly has a tendency to burst my bubble. Right? I call her my inner Ma'at. And she is my fact bringer, my reality checker. She keeps me in check and in balance. And she tapped me on the shoulder and said, excuse me, ma'am, sure, you like that quote. Okay, but what are you going to do about it? It's the truth, but what are you going to do about it? And then she said, well, hop to it, sister, because you have some work to do. So my question to you is, what is your inner Ma'at telling you about the realities that you see? What is your inner Ma'at calling you to do and telling you need to contribute to bring about balance in this universe? In the Hosea, in the book of Prayers and Sacred Praises, the passage says, and Amenemop and his wife Hathor said, praise to Ra, he who hears the prisoner's prayer, beneficent of heart when one calls to him. He who rescues the oppressed from the oppressor, who judges between the weak and the strong, Lord of perception in whose mouth is authority. So I know that the ancestors who were in bondage or were in any way downpressed at any time dreamed of a different reality for their future and the future of their children. Their awareness of their compelling needs and the needs of their collective vision was central in their ability to effectively organize. This collective vision, people coming together and saying, yeah, I want that too. Yes, I'll join together with you and work for that thing. They shared a vision, they held it up, they reaffirmed it, and then they worked towards bringing it into fruition. They made affirmative statements. You know, they dared to dream. One day I'm going to have a farm. One day my children are going to go to school. One day my child is going to go to college. One day my children are going to travel too. They saw things that people were doing and dreamed. Some said, one day I'm going to see Africa again. And some did. Some said, one day we're going to get up off this plantation. We're going to rebel. We're gonna do what we need to do to get up out of here and go through whoever we need to go through. And guess what? They did that too. And we need to pay homage to the vision associated with not only movement and development, but also revolutionary action. That takes vision as well. My great-grandfather was a farmer in South Carolina, and he was a real hard-working man. And they called him the man with a motto, and his motto was, "I'll wear out before I rust out." Right. He had 13 children. Yes, farming family. He had 13 children, and I was told a story about how he was once hired by a man to work on his farm, by a white man down there to work on his farm. And the man hired him not only because he had heard that my great-grandfather was a hard worker, but also because he had 13 children. So he said, oh, he's going to bring them kids to work on this farm. Lovely, free labor. Sounds familiar. A model I like, right? That's what he says. So when it came for a time for my great-grandfather to go to work, he showed up without his children. And the story goes, the farmer said, well, where are the children? And he said, my children have to go to school. So this is in the early 1900s. And this is a brother, you know, with a family, a lot at stake. He gets this job, he needs the work. And he said, my children have to go to school. They can work on the break or whatever, but look here, my children have to go to school. And he took a stance. He instilled this understanding of the importance of education in his children. And in turn, as they grew and they developed, the older one, he gained some success. It made a way for himself, and then he sent money back so that the next one could go to school. And then they two worked together, sent money back so the next one could go to school. So as a result, all of the brothers and sisters who it was feasible for them to go to school went. Each and every last one of them, right? And as a result, many of us were able to do the same. All because of this decision made by my great-grandfather and him deciding to focus on this and instill that understanding in his children. Now that is, once again, a vision. He had a vision for having an educated family because he understood what the importance of education. In 2000 Seasons, on page 29, Aiko Ayama tells us of another group of visionaries, the harbingers of death. Right? It says, this is chapter 1, The Way. And it says, the desert was made the desert, turned barren by a people whose spirit itself is the seed of death. Each single one of them is a carrier of destruction. The spirit of their coming together, the purpose of their existence is the spread of death all over the earth. An insatiable urge drives them. Wherever there is life, even if it be only a possibility, the harbingers of death must go to destroy it. See the footsteps they have left all over the world. Wherever they have been, they have destroyed along the road, taking. They have wiped the surface barren with their greed. They have dug deep to take what the earth needed for itself to stay fertile earth. They have taken everything within their reach, things that made the earth good, and they have put nothing back but hard, dead things in place of life destroyed. Even their putting back has nothing of a sense of reciprocity. Their semblance of giving is parcel of their greed. It is their habit to put dead, useless things in the hallowed earth to help them make more coveted things. what he's talking about is people with a clear and unified vision. They are clear and focused in their goal and dedicated to its realization. They believe themselves fully qualified to make it happen. They have no doubt in their abilities to bring forth everything they visualize that they deserve and need to thrive. Everything they do is connected to it. Not only that, but they train their children to accept what is in actuality the perpetuation of doom as normalcy. They work tirelessly to brainwash the rest of the world into believing that their pathology is connected to some higher and even benevolent purpose. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on them, but we want to think about how effective they've been. We are not outnumbered. We are just out-organized. This is an organized effort and has been for a long time. Now, here comes my inner Mott. What am I going to do about it? Correction. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Now think about how the world would be if more of our people were just as focused, just as driven, just as convinced of the righteousness and victory of our cause on an even broader scale. But instead of using our power, our infinite God-given power for evil, we use that power for good. Think about what that would mean. Using our power for highest and greatest good, using our full power, manifesting our full God selves to work towards the highest and greatest good. As a scholarly community, we have to ask ourselves, are we going to, as Brother Manu says, perpetuate the lecture model, which involves giving repetitive information through endless lecturing and is based on the false premise that information alone will change behavior? Or will we continue to work in the workshop model, which involves using information to further enhance our organizing efforts? Think about the continued evolution of this community. Wose's heyday is not behind us. Our community's legacy of greatness is not in our history. It is in our history's future. We know that we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. We know that we are the answer to our ancestors' prayers. We know that we are divinely guided and connected and that we are indeed powerful beings. We are not here at Wose or even in life just for fun or merely for our own entertainment. This is a community with a history that is tied to liberation. Liberation from spiritual and mental bondage. That is powerful. That is who we are, and that is what we are about. Our unique gifts and talents are an important component of this liberation movement. We do not have the luxury of a belief in smallness. Not with all that's going on right now. Not with all that's going on in our community and in this world right now. We do not have the luxury of a belief in smallness. What type of future do you visualize for our community and for your role in this community and for your role in this movement? And what are you going to do to make sure that it comes to pass? Your legacy is calling on your God self to blossom, to bloom, and to show up 100%. What are you going to do about it? I'm Rahotep.
May I? You know, the word has been given. What are we going to do about it? We can't take shelter in the comfort of our economic, philosophical caves. We've got to come out. What are we going to do about it? And as it's been said, Wose's greatness is not in the past. It's not in the past. There was work to be done in 1980, But that work is continued to grow and magnify itself here in 2013. Oh, sister just hit so many points that resonated with me. And I know it had to resonate with you because we're living in the same place under the same conditions. You know, everybody's not the same, but there's some sameness in whatever everybody's had to go through. So you talked about the children coming here, perfect beings. Yes, they are, until too many of us mess them up or allow other forces to mess them up. You talked about those elders. Whew, I could see elders in my family, but especially in Sister Mary's family. Her father, that sharecropping old man, who was a tough bird. about a 120-pound man, 5'5". Part of his legacy was taking a 200-pound Caucasian gentleman who chose to call him uncle, grab him by the seat of his britches and turn him upside down. Now, I ain't your uncle. And next time that thought comes to your mind, think about this. And the forces of evil, the harbingers of death that come. Sometimes they're very easy to identify because they blue-eyed and brown and blonde-haired, but sometimes that seed has gotten into our home. I don't know about you, but recently there's this thing in the news. Some folks are challenging a rapper. If I remember, his name is Rick Ross. And in one of his cuts, he's glorifying and celebrating date rape. So that spirit of smallness and destructiveness, and it's invading too many of our young people. We got work to do. The greatness of Wosei, the greatness of Mott, the greatness of Amin Ra living in and through you and me. What are we going to do with it? Genius that we be talking about. There it is right there. But then the relationship between his mother and father was just so acrimonious. And I mean, they never got married. The brother wanted to marry her, but she wouldn't marry him because she had violated already something that came out of her family who has some some Puerto Rican influence in there somewhere, some Puerto Rican DNA in there someplace. So it came out of the mouth of her mother and her grandmother. Don't never have no baby with a black man because he's going to have bad hair. So we got that kind of insanity. On that side of the family, they belong to a backwoods majority Caucasian church. And this little boy now, he's 5 years old now. And one day he's expressed, they were watching some program, they were modeling clothes and all. He was saying, those brown models are ugly. The white ones are pretty. Where are you getting this stuff? And then he's talking about wanting to die and go to heaven. Even talking about killing himself and go to heaven. So I was fortunate or unfortunate to be sitting at the dinner table one day when he started talking this on that line of expression. I'm getting these reports secondhand, but this was my firsthand experience with him. Lamarion, if you went to heaven right now, God would say, "What are you doing back here so soon? I want you to live a long life, a good life, and do good things for yourself and for your family and other people. Don't be coming back here at 5 years old." He looked at me and he smiled. He said, "Uncle Michaelisi, tell me that again." So I did. Now, I don't know how far that's going to go with it, but I sure hope it balances off and destroys some of that stuff he's hearing from wherever he's hearing it that has him, losing his genius. We got work to do. We've got work to do so that Father Venable and all the fathers like him, that their work was not in vain, that sharecropping, he didn't have 13 children, he had 9, and it was his insistence, that 9 plus the grandson that he raised as his own, that's 10. Y'all going to school. We got work to do. And it's part of us realizing, recovering, reigniting that genius that we were entrusted with when we came to this earth, to this physical realm, and knowing this, it's never too late. It's never too late to be set afire and dare to overthrow the audacity of smallness, and those who would plant those sort of seeds in our lives. Thank you, Sister Tracy. Thank you, Amin Ra, for Sister Tracy, and for all of you, and for what you do for me each time I get to come here. Because it's a desert in Amelia. It's a desert in Amelia. A desert. Desert in Amelia. So I had. Let me sit down. I'm not supposed to be up here taking all this time. I had the short time that I was in the class this morning with Brother Ray. I was looking at and thinking about, a lot of us we read some things and we study a few things and we get a few insights and we run with them, and that's good. But there's some deep and serious scholarship that needs to go on behind that, because there are folks that spend time, they spend their lifetimes trying to dispel, trying to disprove what we are growing to know is the truth, is the infallible truth. Dr. Obenga, I remember one of his presentations, he was talking about Brown University, where they have an Egyptology program, and some official there was saying, whatever you do, don't let those African people into our philosophy, into our discipline, because they will destroy it. And so against those kind of forces, we need scholars like Brother Ray, Dr. Ben, Dr. Obenga, and others that are working this. So I was looking at that equipment he had there, those slides. That stuff doesn't float down here. Somebody had to open some books and read and study and have a dedication. I want my people to know this. And when somebody wants to question me and challenge me, well, do it. Here's a resource. There's a resource. As Sister was presenting today, here's a resource. Don't go just from the top of your head. That little nephew I'm talking about said, Uncle Makalisi, why you had that funny haircut? Hey, brother, that's just the way it is. So I said all that equipment, the slides, the presentation, demonstrating with the symbols and all that, and Brother Manu, that's telling us to be primary researchers. Well, I said to him, everybody's not going to be a primary researcher. You and others like you who have that calling, who have that skill, do it. Write those reports. And then we're going to take them and run with them. Yes, we are. And so we give thanks and praises for Brother Ray, for his work, for his diligence. And so the question is, with that, moving beyond simply the lecture model, with that information, those understandings, what are we going to do with it? Oh my goodness. I mean, one presentation we had, Brother Ray was talking to us about Kepra, and he gave us a phrase, Nuk Pu Kepra. Nuk Pu Kepra. I am Kepra. A song came out of that. But it's Nuk Pu Kepra. I'm the being of my becoming one with Amen Ra. I'm the being of that becoming when I choose to live in Mart. Nuk Pu Kepra. I'm the being of my becoming one with Amen Ra. I'm becoming through Septepi power. Every hour I'm being and becoming. Nuk Pu Kepra. Nuk Pu Kepra. So it's up to us. We got to realize that. We talk about this body, this being in prison. No, it's not. It's a temple. It's a chamber in which you can work out your awesome divine potential and loose it on the world. The audacity of smallness. We are kings and queens, gods and goddesses, fathers and mothers of gods and goddesses to come. Thank you, Sister Tracy. You ain't living up to anything that I have done. You're living up to the one who I'm trying to answer. To the one, to the energy, the spirit, to the power, to those ancestors, And we get around to talking about spiritual things. I relate back to that passage from Brother Harmon. Yeah, there he is. to those who are able to keep us from falling.
Yes.
May the divine energies from north, south, east, and west throughout this universe, may the divine energy, the source, the power from which those have originated, be with us here and now and always. May the ancestors gone before us by the power of that spirit, of those spirits, of that consciousness, of that diligence and determination. North, south, east, and west, motherland, Caribbean, North and South America, California, New York, Mississippi. May those ancestors be with us here and for now and forever, and remind us that we indeed are one people,
One people.
having one faith,
One faith.
one aim, one destiny,
One destiny.
one love,
One love.
and one God.
One God.
And we close this worship celebration reciting, repeating from the depths of our hearts that name of God of old has been taught to us for countless generations. Let us all say together. Amen. Amen. Rob, remember without a doubt that you are the most beautiful people on the face of this earth. Ashe, ashe,
You miss us,
ashe.
don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we miss you too. No birthdays.
Oh,
Announcements.
announcements. Tickets are now on sale for Ile Omade fundraiser. We are really, really, really excited. Jeffrey's in a circle, casino night. We have great prizes. We're going to have great fun. We're going to have good experiences. And we're looking forward to Ile Omade and we'll say raising $10,000 is our goal, minimum.
Claiming it.
And
Ashe.
we're claiming it out there, and it's going to be off the charts. I have tickets. Baba Shango has tickets. Mama Fanya has tickets. Buy one. Buy two. There's flyers in the back. And you should be buying from Jalea first. I will say, Jalea first. She hit me at the door. So, see, she got it going. So you can't turn the baby down.
I see. I see.
Next Friday, April the 12th, at the West Oakland Senior Center, the West Oakland Creative Workshop, which I've been a part of for a number of years. We put in on an afternoon program with poetry and prose. We'll be doing some of our own writings from the workshop, as well as some of the writings and poetry from our respective favorite poets. So next Friday between 1 and 3 o'clock, you're available, it's free. Come out and hit some poetry and prose. It's at the West Oakland Center in West Oakland.
I see.
If you're in the movie, go check out Free Angela. She's at the Emory AMC in McGill. Really good. Independent, but they sponsored it.
No, it just started Friday. No. What was that, festivals? But it just started in the theater last Friday.
For those of you who are interested in helping us bring our youth to the level of genius that they all have in one way or another, in 1981, the Davis family started an organization for young people in public schools called the Young Gifted and Black. It's been revived here in Oakland. Last year, we took some young people with us to Ghana for them to have a powerful experience of being in those places where their ancestors said and were brutally treated. It was a lifetime permanent experience for all of them, particularly the people who were distributed at the time.